Welcome to the Anyone Can Farm Experience live chat, Tuesday night edition. I'm Mark, your host, coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. And Exquisite Tuesday here. We really had a great day. So had an action-packed day. Tuesday, my day to milk with Frank. We have our trusty intern with us, Covey Bollington. No, his name is Bolly. Covey Bolly. And I like to call him Covington. But he got here Saturday afternoon. And he was laid low Sunday. He must have got shipping fever or something coming across country. And he was laid low Sunday and actually had to take his first day off yesterday, Monday. But he showed up on time this morning. We put him to work. And I got talking with him this morning. And he's here so that he can learn what we do here. The intricacies of small farming. Because there's a lot of them. And I was talking to him about, well, what things do you want to accomplish this season? What do you want to learn? What my expectations are, things like that. We had a real good year with him last year. He's good pitch-in type guy, learns quick, stays on it. Good guy to have around, good man to have around. Whoever gets him, his parents, are getting a good guy. So I'm real happy about that. But, I got to thinking about it. And usually on Tuesday morning, Jill will say, well, what do you want to talk about tonight on the show? And that was what was at the top of my mind, talking with him and him just very patiently going, yes, yes, yes. And then I had to go into town to replace a tool for something that we were working on, a construction project that we're working on. And I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about all the people that have been drawn to small farming just over the time that I've been in it, which is now on this farm. Last month marked 20 years. So I was in the service for 20 years. I got out, came here, started setting this up, and we'd move forward and then fall back, move forward, fall back, move forward, fall back. And now we're where we are right now, and it's a good place to be. I wouldn't say I don't ever have this feeling like I've arrived, because there's always one more thing that I'd like to do, that intrigues me, that I think would be good for what we're doing here, good for our family, good for our community, things like that. So I'm not to the place where I just say, well, I'm going to mow the lawn. I'm not there. I do like to mow the lawn, though, and I like to plow snow. And you guys know I kind of go for those mundane things, that just quiet and, you're just plugging along and can think. And it was kind of like that driving into town today. I get to think. And one of the things that I thought about with my children having gone through this process, we never in the early days stressed getting better at what you're doing. You did a pretty good job. You could do it better if you did this. Never really stressed that. I don't know why I didn't. I guess I wasn't in tune with it like I am now. But as we've, entered into this mentoring process, I would guess. So like over the last 5 or so years, we've had this show and we've really expanded the Anyone Can Farm experience and the Anyone Can Farm tribe. I've seen a lot of people come into this. I've seen a lot of people say, hey, I want to do what you guys are doing. And what that does to me is it gives me a boost. You know, when I see good quality people coming into farming and finding a place for themselves, and then we're able to kind of mentor them along a little bit. And there was a couple things that happened today that made me really focus in on this. Okay, I had my first conversation with Covey this morning, and then driving into town and thinking about my kids that are in the house still, and looking at them and thinking, whoa, we can really make some gains with those people. They are really effective at this way of life. And thinking this could be the best summer we've ever had on Baker's Green Acres. And not just saying it, just it came into my mind and I thought, whoa, it really could be the best summer. So how do I gauge that? Well, I gauge that by looking at a process that we started, say, 10 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, say pastured poultry, for instance, and assessing the data that comes from that, like, okay, we received 400 chicks and there's 385 of them still going strong and they've made it to full size. And we have a market for all of them. So the process is better. The process has gotten better. And I think that it had a lot to do with the people. It has everything to do with the people that are stewarding the process. So I don't really do pastured poultry anymore. I oversee everything that goes here. If something goes wrong, it's my fault. And I accept the responsibility for it. So I'm the last one to look at all these things at the end of a shift, which the shift ends when the sun goes down. And when the sun goes down, the animals go to sleep. And very rarely, knock on wood, do we have problems after dark. Really, very, very rarely. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but we've streamlined all the processes. So, animals are where they're supposed to be when the sun goes down. And usually that's a signal for them to lay down and go to sleep. And they do. And so I can be quite sure that when the sun goes down, now I can have something to eat and not think about too much, maybe watch a documentary on TV. So that is really a good restful time when the sun is down. I really am glad that we don't live someplace where the sun's up all the time. That would be, you don't get that break. But I had this idea or this train of thought about excellence in what we do. And does excellence in what we do just happen? And in every process that we're doing here and every process that now I get to see on other farms of people that we're not just mentors, we're friends with them. We actually love these people. I mean, there is a real bond with these other families. And I mean, it is a pure type love relationship where you really want to see them do well and you will help them when you can and you do anything for them, right? So I happen to see a video that one of our friends now, somebody that we mentored, they came to one of our classes and then we've become friends and we've hung out and talked farming and we've watched them really hang it out there and tackle a process times, they've had terrible times with that process, but they stay with it. And when I watch that tenacity, there's been times when I thought, oh man, I hope they hang in there. They're almost to the next plateau, and they do. So it was Dion. It was Dion. Dion's on here a lot. Dion Stumpo. They're good friends of ours. And I don't think they had any animals at their house when we first met them. Well, maybe they did. Yeah, they had gotten a couple of pigs during the Wu flu. Yeah, it was during the Wu flu, and some place was shutting their doors, and they were giving pigs away real cheap. So they wound up with pigs, and then they found out they couldn't get them processed. And then they found that we were going to be conducting a class on how to process pigs. They took the class, and the rest is history. And Dion had put a video out about grazing his cows now. So he's done a lot. He's got a parcel. I think they have 10 acres. I'm not exactly sure. And they cleared a bunch of stuff. They cleared it, and then they planted it. And now they're rotationally grazing their milk cows. They've got a couple milk cows, and they've got, and they're milking. They're doing a herd share, and they're moving forward, always moving forward. And I get to watch this. And when I see it, I think, okay, I like that. I like that a lot. And not just that they're doing it, he's sharing it with his group of people. And very well. He's doing a very good job of sharing that. I don't think he's on here yet, but he listens to these after the fact. His wife is down in South America right now on a missions trip, so maybe she'll be picking it up too. And she's a mover in this whole thing too. And so I thought, well, what is it that we could convey at this point to the people who have gotten? There's another one, Jay-Z. He's on here. He's one of our guys too. I don't want to leave anybody out, so let me see who's here. Jamie, guy. Ooh, that's a tough one. The cat. All right, the cat is, and it's Guy Jacks the cat. All right, well, that's a new one. All right, calling me sir. All right, okay, well, good. What can I do for hands-on experience? City locked boy wanting to move out to a wider sky. Do it, lad. Just do it. We come across people all the time. And when I say to them kind of tongue-in-cheek, so you escaped, they're like, yes. You just got to do it. No one's going to hand it to you. You're just going to have to. Gygax. Ty. All right. Well, cool. The cat. All right. So you just got to escape. But in the meantime, you can do this. And I know Jay-Z's got a handle on this because he's always refining his game. We're always refining. Keep in mind that you're not going to get better at this unless you say, I want to get better at this. You're not going to. You have to want to get better at it. It's just like if you have a job someplace, you hire in at a certain level, and then you get better at that job, and then they move you up to something else, and you get better at that. You become more effective and therefore more valuable. So if you're working for somebody and you get real effective at their process, and then they close the doors and you're out the door, well, now you get to start over again. But in this case, building your homestead, your small farm, whatever it is you want to call it, I'm kind of leaning towards small farms again, because homesteading is kind of it's really expanded in the definition. But small farms I like. Small farms is the antithesis, I think, of factory farming. That's what I think. Or family. It's not. It's consistent with family farming, right? So I'm not hiring people from the outside so much. I'm using the people that I have, my children, and getting them trained, and then they go on to do things, and they expand their own process. I got 2 kids right now that are building. One's building his own house, and he started with an idea. I have an idea. I think I'd like to build a house, and he's gotten the windows in, and he's on his way to building his own house. I got a lot of respect for that. And my oldest son is building an addition on his house, pretty elaborate. And last year he built a shop that he created a business just out of nothing, just had an idea and created a business. And I think these are things that they were equipped with by working here with us. I think I wouldn't know any different. Maybe they would have just turned out that way on their own. I'm not sure. There's no way to know. But and let's see, Just Me is with us. But we try to improve our game all the time. And what we did many moons ago was we created a Facebook page called the Anyone Can Farm Tribe, right? And that's a Facebook page. And all of yous that are on here, if you have Facebook capability, go on over there and sign up, see if you can get on, and we'll thoroughly vet you, and then we'll let you in. And then I'm asking you to share what you're doing. Because let's say you're new. Let's say Just Me, you're new to this whole small farm thing. And you finally get to a place where I want to show off my chicken setup. You want to show that off. Do it. Now, it might not be something that, ooh, I got to watch this. It might not appeal to me that much, other than it does appeal to me because I like to see people who have not done this thing, and then all of a sudden they do this thing and they get real excited about it and they become fulfilled in some way. That actually fulfills me. I like that. So the tribe page has been instrumental in a lot of gains, I believe. And I think that people should join that one or create your own. And then I'll join yours. And then I have something to look at, that's productive and edifying, right? It's going to edify us in this process that we've engaged with and for some reason we find challenge in, solace in. I don't know. I don't think I know anybody that's engaged in this, saw the vision, engaged, and then, 2 months in said, I don't want to do it. But maybe I just don't have contact with them. There's the possibility. It seems like everybody keeps inching it up, keeps upping their game. And now, where does that come from? Where does that drive in me to communicate to you that you need to up your game? You're not my children, but I want the best for you. I want the best for everybody that's engaged with us. I don't want the best for evil entities in this world. I don't. I want them to go away. I want them to be insignificant and inconsequential and of no regard. That's what I want for them. But you all, I want to see you get better at this. So the tribe has been a tool to do that. And lately we have seen a bit of an offensive, or the appearance of an offensive, coming from just evil parasitic agencies that are floating, the next lie that's coming out, or potential lie about some pandemic. And wouldn't you know, it kind of affects us. So we see that coming. Luckily, we have this big group of people that are tribespeople. Anyone can farm people that are in this tribe, and we're able to engage them on this possible threat. Like, all heads need to turn and say, okay, we got something coming here, right? So we get better at our process, and I think that is paramount. We get better at our process, and I believe that is paramount. That means I think that is the most important thing that we can do. But probably just a little down from there is protecting our process, which becomes our way of life, from those that would like to take it away from us. Because every time we get a little bit stronger, we get a little bit better in our process, we become more profitable, we become more sustainable, which means we're relying more on ourselves and our ability to conduct our process effectively, which means, oh, now I have my own eggs. Oh, now I have my own milk. I have my own meat. I have all these skills that I've learned. Now I can actually process my own pigs. So you're self-reliant, and then you pass that reliance on, hopefully, to your children. But we want to take it further than that. We need to pass it on to our fellow countrymen here and help them to be more self-reliant and more sustainable, all those things. There's a lot of benefits to this, for sure. And let's not ignore the monetary part of it. When you first get chickens, let's say, and you're new at it, and then you push the pencil and you say, well, this bag of feed cost me $21, and actually these eggs are worth 65 cents a piece. Well, you're not very good at the game yet. You need to improve that game. You need to get it down where each one of those eggs, you actually got like 9 cents into it or 5 cents into it, but you've got all the eggs you can eat. Plus you have some to share with your friends or sell, which is a great idea, because then that will benefit your next process that you want to engage on. So you're getting good at the process. You've got to get good at the numbers. You really have to get your head around the numbers, because if you're doing this and saying, well, and I hear this all the time, well, I'm just doing it for a hobby. I don't want to get rich. Well, in effect, what you're saying is, I'm going to put the monetary part of it aside. And I guess what I'm saying to you at this point, at some point, as you expand, you're going to say, wow, small farming is costing me all my money. I'm going broke, small farming. Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. We live in an abundant creation, and there is a huge gain to be made in this process, in the overall process. There's a huge gain to be made, and I'm not talking about a small gain. I'm talking about a big gain. There's definitely some evil spells at work here, and when you hear things like there ain't no money in farming, you just kind of, well, you've heard so many times that, well, there ain't no money in farming. But I'm here to tell you, well, there is money in farming. If you read the writings of George Washington and some other of our founding fathers, like Thomas Jefferson, they felt as though the only place where there was a true gain, not just shifting natural resources from one place to another or providing a service to somebody, but a true gain that comes from the abundant a creation that we live in, that is the only place where true gain comes from. And I like to use the example of, you got a tomato seed. What is a tomato seed worth? I don't even know if you could put a value on it. If you went and bought one seed, if you go over to Ebel's over here and say, I only want one seed. Well, the packet has 500 in it. It's a $2 packet. I only want one. That's going to be tough. Why don't I just give it to you? That's easier. They'll think you're a nut, But you take that one seed, bring it home, and put it in dirt. What's the value of dirt? What's the price of a cup full of dirt? I don't know. It's not much, but yet it's got the ability to take that dirt and that seed. You put it in there, and if you manage it properly, like we've got people in this tribe that manage that process properly, and they make a hoop of money off of tomatoes. A hoop of money, because from each one of those seeds, you have the ability to harvest a bushel, 2 bushels, 3, 4. Some of these people are really good at it. We got a guy over here that's in the tribe, Bryce. He kills it on tomatoes, kills it. So he's not like digging something out of the ground and refining it and then selling what he's refined. He's not doing that. He's taking this magical little thing, a seed, putting it in dirt, and then stewarding it, looking after it, tying those tomatoes up, putting some water on it, checking them, make sure they're not getting ravaged by bugs or whatever. And whatever he's got to do, he's got tomato plants that are 10 feet high, and he's getting lots of beautiful, life-giving tomatoes off there, right? So that's an example. It could be tomatoes. It could be, in our case, we do, let's say, beef cows or beef steers. I don't have any cows. We don't breed beef cows. We buy steers, calves, and then we take the calf and we mentor or we raise the calf until they can be on full grass, and then all summer long for 6 months they're just cruising, eating grass, and they convert that grass and water into beef. And when you consider the value of a calf, although they're quite expensive right now, but there was a time when calves were, they go from no value, literally zero value, to now they're about $800 for a calf. And beef cattle are not usually that way, but deacon calves, and a deacon calf is a bull calf, which would be a male that comes out of one of these big dairy operations. They're just breeding their cows so they can milk them. And if they get a bull calf, it's of no use to them. And there was a time when I actually have one of my cows that from a real big farm around here said, you want this? She's got a lame back foot. We're just going to send her. We're going to send her to the sale. And she would have brought very little or nothing at the sale. Well, she's been here for 5 years at least, and she gives us 3 to 4 gallons of milk a day. So she's got tremendous value. And all we had to do was take care of her and allow her to be, and everything that's in her that makes her be a cow, I didn't have much to do with that. That was way above my pay grade. I just did what I could do, kept her fenced in, kept her water full, and things like that. I think you get the idea of what I'm saying. So our role in this as small farmers is, it's very important, because if I take that seed, stick it in the dirt, and then walk away, if it might, but if it's not trellised up, it's not going to do as well as if we've taken care of it. If we steward it, it's a gift that's given to us from our God, from our creator. He's the same one that made me. And he gave me this and said, please take care of this for me, will you? Okay, I will. So you're actually doing the creator's work here. And with that said, that I see this as a spiritual as well as a physical journey. I really do. Because what is it that makes you feel good about doing this? Does it make my body feel good? No, it makes my spirit feel good. It gives me that drive to go out and do it again and look at it and say, whoa, that's good. I'm proud. I like that. I'm proud of the work that I've done. I'm really in awe of the work that God has done. Like, we get a brand new baby calf, and you look at that calf and you say, look at the intricacies of this animal. And then I get to pet it. I get to lead it around. I get to, see what I'm saying? It is a spiritual journey, and it's a very positive spiritual journey. But there is a negative side to it. There is a negative side to it. There is always somebody that wants to get in between you and that process and say, now, wait a minute. I want to be in charge instead of the farmer being in charge. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing this latest thing, the bird flu coming out, and the best and the brightest, and I say that in quotations, at our state capitol, Department of Agriculture, and their top guy, not that he has any say, he's just the top guy that manages the organization. He's got marching orders, and we've determined through some of the writings that we've studied, and these, New York Times and Detroit Free Press, things like this, the stories are all consistent, and they show that this protocol to combat the H5N1 is coming from the CDC, Center for Disease Control, United States. And then, who's handing it down to them? World Health. So it's a global initiative to stamp out a problem that we're not even sure that exists. And at this stage of the game, people that have been in this, and this is what I want you new people to kind of know, that this is the way we feel. You can do what you want, but the people that have been in this for a while feel as though they don't have our best interest in mind. So we're looking at this close, we're looking at this real close. And that is part of this. That is part of this. There will always be somebody that says, well, yeah, you can keep chickens, but only 3 because we say so. Well, I have a problem with that. You can have chickens in your yard, but no roosters because we say so. Well, what happens if I blow you off? That's some of the learning that happens in the tribe, because there's, throughout time since we've started this, there's always been somebody or some entity that says, oh, wait a minute, you didn't get permission to do that, right? That has happened in every society throughout time. If you're a student of history, even if you're not a student of history, but you just are exposed to history, you see this. In the United States, in the colonies, it has been a common theme that eventually led to the Revolutionary War. All right, that's where it goes, because these people that catch the fire to farm, to steward, to work directly for the Creator, have a bit of a problem with some parasite type person stepping in and saying, well, I want a bite of your action. And I also want to be able to tell you how many chickens you can have. Let me tell you a story. I've told this story before, but this is powerful. In the United States, a lot of people throw around this term about democracy. We are a democracy. We're actually not a democracy, and I think most of you people probably know that at this point. We're a representative republic, and we are governed by a constitution. And that constitution is a document, actually. And I recommend all the time, download it. And the part of it that we are fortunate to have as a society is the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights was actually a compromise that was added on to the Constitution, and we are very fortunate to have it because it outlines the spirit of the Constitution and the restraint that was handed down from our founding fathers to the prospective government agencies that we were likely to encounter. They had gone through this with the Revolutionary War, where you had the King of England and his minions saying, yeah, you can grow tomatoes, but I want the first bushel comes back to me because I say so. And I've got troops in your country, in the colonies, and they will ensure that happens at the end of a bayonet. And they didn't like that too well. That went on for a long time, and then finally it culminated with the colonists saying no. And they declared independence from the King of England, and the King of England said troops and said no, and the colonists mounted up with their squirrel rifles and their other weapons and fought a war. And when everything was said and done, the British had to leave. And then it was an exercise in self-governance. And so the framers of the Constitution knew what happens when you have a dictator in charge. All right, so that's not the story I want to tell. We're a representative republic, but most of us think, ooh, communism, that's bad. Okay, what is it? Do you know what it is? And I was never a very strong student in school. And so when I was in the military, I didn't really know what communism was, even though all around me, people saying, oh, communism is bad. Them Russians and them Chinese, terrible. But I didn't really know what it was. I just knew that it was bad. And then one day I was in a supervisory capacity, and I had about 20 people that worked for me. I directly supervised them. And a guy came to work for me, brand new guy out of tech school. And his name was Philip Malkoff. I'll never forget this guy. As long as I live, I will never forget this guy. And I had to interview him to figure out, well, where would be a good place to put him? You know, like, let's find out where he's at, and let's see who I could put him in with that he would get along with. And I said, so Malkoff, where are you from? And he says, Moscow. And I says, well, you know, the dumb American, is that in Indiana? I thought, that Moscow, Indiana, I heard of that. He says, no, Russia. And I looked at him for a little bit. Here I am wearing United States Air Force uniform. He's wearing a United States Air Force uniform. I got a whole bunch of stripes. He doesn't have any stripes. And I'm thinking, okay, you're from Russia? You are in the United States Air Force and you are a Russian. And he says, yes. I said, this is highly irregular, Malkoff. I have not encountered this before. You're Russian, but you're in the United States Air Force. How did this happen? I mean, clue me in here a little bit. Now, normally in an interview like that, they don't say much. I tell them what I want, and I assess their character, and I figure out where I'm going to put them. In this case, I was the I, I I'm looking at this guy like, what? I don't know how to explain it. It was a completely different dynamic. Usually they're afraid of you. And this guy was not afraid of me at all. He had a confidence to him. And I said, "How did you wind up in the United States?" And he says, "I defect." And I'm like, "You defected from Russia and now you're in the United States and we maintain nuclear facilities. This is highly irregular. Does the commander know this?" "I don't know. I don't know." And I said, "Okay, well, um, I tell you what, you're looking good. I'm glad you showed up on time. Why don't you take a little personal time? Go get yourself a haircut. Make yourself familiar with maybe the basics changed. Get what you need, and I'll see you here tomorrow morning. Okay, how's that?" He says, "Good, thank you." And he takes off. I made a beeline down to the first sergeant's office. "I need to talk to you. I just interviewed a guy, and he claims that he's a Russian citizen, and he defected." And he's like, "I knew you'd be down here, Sergeant Baker. I knew there's something you're going to have a problem with this." And I said, "I don't have a problem with it if this is what you want, but this seems a bit strange to me." And he says, "The guy's been vetted. He's got a security clearance. That is not our problem. Um, we can trust him." And I said, "Okay, all right, good, fine. He seems like a good guy. Seems like a very interesting guy." And so the nature of the work that we were doing, they would be going out to the field for about 3 to 4 to 5 days, and then they would come in, and we would get their stuff from them, and then we would look through everything, and then we would turn them loose, and they would have a couple days off. Well, when Malkoff would come in, he was in no rush to go anyplace. Most of the other airmen were like, they want to get it done and gone. He wanted to talk, and I wanted to talk. A lot of the other airmen, they were from towns throughout the United States. I was one of them. Uh, they wanted to go out and see the sights, party a little bit, and maybe meet girls. And Malkoff was very much interested in buying a car, and he wanted to know everything I knew about cars and which one he should get, and from my perspective, what was a good, very thoughtful about that, and wanted to know things like, "So, Sergeant Baker, I can buy gasoline for a car if I get it. So I can buy gasoline for that car." And I said, "Yeah, yeah. Why? What's your money situation? You're getting paid. You haven't done anything stupid, have you, that I need to know?" "No, no. I just wasn't sure if I could just buy gasoline." I said, "Yeah, you can buy all the gasoline you want. Whatever money you have, you can buy." And so I started to think, maybe I can find out from this guy, what is communism? What is it all about? And it took a while, and he wanted to explain it to me, but I surmised what was going on just by what his aspirations were as a Russian citizen living now in the United States, and we are free. Okay, so you couldn't buy gasoline in Russia? And he says, "No, I couldn't have a car." I said, You can't buy a car." "No, I would have to have permission to buy a car." And come to find out, they had a local, what sort of like what we would call a township, but whoever the township top guy had a lot of power in the lives of the people in that township. They got to say if they could have a car. And so the Russian citizen, would have to make a case why they need a car. And the township supervisor could say, "No, you don't really need a car. You just want to drive around. You'll waste gasoline. No, you can't. If you need the car, then yes, but you have a job here, which was assigned to you out of high school, and it's within walking distance, so you will walk." And that's it. Your township supervisor gets to tell you, or even an underling from them gets to tell you if you can have a car or not. And I thought, wow, that's really crazy. So this guy, when he would post in from the field, he would fill the tank of his car, and that was good enough for him. And he would get in that car, and he asked me, he says, so how far can I go in my car? He finally bought a car. He bought a used car. on my recommendation. A lot of airmen would go and buy brand new cars, and then they have a ball and chain around their leg. But I said, no, get a 10-year-old car. I mean, it's still got a lot of life in it, and you can get it for, less than $1,000. Don't worry about these 4x4s and all that stupid stuff. You don't need that. I mean, do it if you want because you're free, but you're never going to turn the 4-wheel drive on unless you go looking for it. You just don't need that. So he bought a small car that he could fill the tank with, and I believe he bought a Fiat because that was what he was familiar with. And I had a Fiat, so I said, yeah, it worked out pretty good. No, it was a Datsun. He bought a Datsun. So anyway, he would fill the tank of that car, and then he would drive. And he asked me, how far can I go? And I said, well, according to Air Force regulations, this is your radius that you should not exceed. However, you're kind of on your own once you leave the gate. You know that you have to be back to post out next Tuesday or this appointment or that appointment. But other than that, you're on a day off. Just don't do anything stupid. Like I would brief them on, you cannot consume alcohol while you're driving. You just can't do it. We can't do that anymore. We used to be able to, but now we can't. And all the things that they can't do. And he was like, yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. But he was amazed that he could drive as far as he wanted, 0 checkpoints. Where he came from, if he wanted to leave his township, there was a checkpoint. And he had to have permission from his township supervisor or one of the minions. And there had to be a good reason why he was going. Like there had to be a reason, a doctor's appointment. You can't just say, well, I just want to go check out the women in the next town. You couldn't do that. It wasn't a good enough reason, right? And so it sets up this system where whoever's in authority, you have to be on their good side, because if you're on their bad side, they'll say no. Right? And it got down to, and then one of the things he told me that really drove it home was his mother had a garden in her yard, and she had to apply for a permit for the garden, and that took a while. And when she finally got it, she had to give them a detailed list of how many rows and what she planned to grow and what she planned to do with the produce that came out of there. Detailed. And they amended what she said she wanted to do and said, well, you can do this. And then they had every right to come and look at the detailed description of what she said she was going to do and what she did do. And let's say she had an extra row of carrots, they would come on and they would pull them all up. And they would either take them or just pull them out and throw them on the ground. And she had no recourse. Absolutely no recourse. That is communism. And we were only talking about the things like travel, like vacations outside of the township. They didn't call them township. There was another name for it. I can't recall. Food, how much food you could have in your house, how much firewood you could have. They heat their homes with firewood or coal, actually. So how much you could have. You could have a stockpile for the year. You had to go and get it when you needed it. When you needed it. And when you went there with your ration card, they'd say, well, you got some last month. You should still have some left. Well, it was extra cold and I burned it up. I'm sorry, I can't give you extra. That's it. So everywhere you turn in a communist society, there is somebody that is checking what you're doing. You are not free. Well, I want to go on vacation here. You got to get permission. And he told me that they applied for permission, him and his mom, to go someplace for vacation. His mom got permission. He did not. They amended his request to a week later, so they couldn't go. And Malkoff was a smart mouth, and he was very strong-willed for sure. And that's why he defected, because they were closing in on him. You don't get good jobs. You got to go along with the company line, right? So when you consider what's coming down from a global organization like WHO, World Health Organization, it's handed down to the CDC. Is there anybody that works at the CDC that says, I don't think this is a good idea? No, because they won't be there very long. They won't have a job. They will be looking for a job someplace else. And oh, by the way, where do the funds come for the CDC to pay their people? Where does that come from? The taxpayers of the United States. And I even wonder about that, because the Federal Reserve prints as much money as they want. So why do they need even my tax money? Why do they even need it, right? Just print some more. Let me live, whatever my taxes are a year, let me live that much better per year, or save that money. But no, they're going to take it, right? And then it's handed down from the CDC to the Department of Agriculture. There's a Department of Agriculture, the United States Department of Agriculture. That's the federal. That's Washington. And then there's the state. In every state, there's a Department of Agriculture. Now, the director of the Department of Agriculture here in the state of Michigan, his name is Tim Boring. You're going to hear that name if this goes where we think it's going, and it has all the earmarks of going in that direction at this point. He's appointed by the governor. Yeah, the same governor that during the Wu flu said you can't go into a nursing home to watch your mother or your father die, because the storyline is that you could bring COVID in there and you could kill them all. That's the storyline. And we know now that a lot of it was hooey. We know that now. But we're seeing bird flu come in, and the appointee in the state, the point of contact at the state to do the bidding of the CDC, supposedly a smart guy. He's got all kinds of PhDs and stuff, all kinds of education, sat on all kinds of boards. All that really tells me is he's compromised, and he's going to do whatever the hell he's told, because he's more concerned with his paycheck than doing the right thing. He's notified his people, we're going to move on this bird flu thing. Now, what are their plans? We're not quite sure at this point. Not quite sure. There was a time when we thought that it was just an assault on raw milk. It is, but is that it? I don't think so. I don't think the World Health Organization gives a damn about who's drinking raw milk or pasteurized milk. That's low-level stuff. I think they are more concerned with, hey, let's try this vaccine thing again. It worked pretty good. Let's try it again. And this time, all of our factory farms, we can slip the vaccine in their animals. They can't say no. Okay, so I think that's what it is, and that's a theory at this point. I won't know until we get there. I wish I had been more vocal about COVID. I did say, within the first week, that I don't think so. This sounds too much like the feral swine thing, in that these agencies like to come up with a problem, they create it, they make it up, and then they gather supporting documents or supporting evidence. A lot of times the evidence that they gather is just anecdotal, meaning it is not solid firsthand evidence. It's always, well, my Uncle Tony saw a feral pig back in 73. Oh, that must mean this feral swine. So yeah, okay, good enough. These are people who claim, like Tim Boring, science. He's got a degree in dirt science, right? He claims science, but that's a ruse. That's a ruse. At least that's the way it appears to me right now. But yet he will never say, you know something, Governor, for the good of the people of this state, I don't believe that I'm seeing scientific, solid evidence that the bird flu exists or that it is something we should even be looking at. Let's track it, but you can't ask the citizens to give up their freedoms because of this yet, right? So they haven't made that move yet, but they have put the words bird flu down on paper. They have written it down and saying, hey, we need a more aggressive monitoring system and things like that. And that's pretty consistent with what we saw the last time. So these are all things that you need to know about if you want to pursue this way of life and you find this way of life sacred. So the forces of this is the way I see it. Okay, so God is good. God gave me life. He gave me everything that I have. He is good. He makes me feel good. He protects me. He gives me a direct line to this creation and says, go ahead and steward it. You know, just sort of like Adam and Eve. I don't know if that story is true, but it's a good story. And then this other organization over here, with no evidence, taking orders from the World Health Organization through the CDC, is going to say, okay, this is what we're doing. Well, I thought you were a scientist. Shouldn't you be stepping in and saying, hey, wait a minute, put the brakes on this? Didn't you take an oath of office to the United States Constitution? So in reality, you do not serve the Constitution and you do not serve the people. You are serving the World Health Organization. Oh, I thought so. You know, it shouldn't be any surprise to you all at this point. But this is something that you need to know. And just like you need to know how deep to plant that tomato seed, you need to know this. And if you are not sure of what I'm saying, if you're not sure that, hey, maybe there's something to what he's saying, then look at it yourself. And there's some good places that you can look. I went to Rumble and I typed in bird flu, and the first 3 podcasts that came up I thought were outstanding. I listen to a podcast and sometimes I turn it off. I turn it right off because they'll say things that are triggers to me that this guy does not know what he's talking about. And the fourth one that I listened to, I turned off instantly because they said something about, well, people who believe that this is overreach. You know, they're probably flat earthers. Oh, okay. I'm out of here because I've looked into that enough to know at this point, and I don't care if they want to use this against me. Go ahead. Take your best shot. I've looked into it enough, and I know enough about the targeting systems that we use in the military to know that all of their theories about the Coriolis effect and over-the-horizon radar and over-the-horizon targeting is completely made up. It's completely made up. If there's a horizon, we would not be able to see over it. You just can't. Right? So anyway, I don't want to get into that. My beliefs are my beliefs on that. And I don't really, uh, that's used against you as they try to say, oh yeah, he's probably a flat earther too. Okay, I don't care. Say it if you want. I mean, we try to deal in reality around here, and if we come across something that has merit, hey, let's look at it. If it's dumb, it's dumb. When we looked at the whole Wu flu thing, there was dumb after dumb after dumb after dumb after dumb, and it's still dumb. And now the people who fell for it, they've got problems. They've got real problems with it. And why they fell for it, in some cases, I look at these people and I just say, I don't see how they fooled you. I mean, it was so apparent of what was going on. Same thing with the feral swine thing. We've still got people in this state that will back up the Department of Ag saying, well, it's a good thing you did what you did. No, we stopped them cold in a court of law, and they had to back away from their feral swine agenda, which really was an invasive species agenda, that they could say, this is invasive, and this is invasive, and this is invasive, and this is invasive. Oh, and this too. And they could have put anything they wanted in there because they said that any species of animal in the state that is non-native is potentially invasive. So black and white cows, invasive. And if it's invasive, then they say this, I love it. The scientific community, they say, if they say it's invasive, then they tell the public, this here's your enemy right here. This here's your enemy right here. And these same people, I read some of the writings of these people at the Department of Agriculture, and they're still pushing global warming. They're still saying, that's our main goal here, is to protect the planet. Like they have anything to do with it. If you read through some of their stuff, it's real interesting. They like to be called MDARD, right? That's their it's rural development on the end of it. And you go on the internet, and the internet has been scrubbed big time. So you find very little negative about them, and it just oozes with self and I can't say that word. Anyway, they're always promoting their organization and their people and giving each other accolades, right? Oh, he is so good. And they rate themselves as their level of superiority in things that have no real value. None. I mean, it's like you sat on a board. Okay. What did that do? You have this degree. Okay, but you've taken that degree and now you're just working for the Department of Agriculture and moving up the chain within that. It's pretty sick when you look at it. I looked at it this morning to see what I could find, see if I could find anything that was redeeming. And I just honestly could not find anything. It was just kind of like, well, I'm glad I'm not part of that organization. And, I've had conversations with people and they've said something, well, you kind of work for an organization like that within the military. I know it was way different. We had a product coming out the other end. We were experts at destroying stuff and killing people. That was our product. Proud of that at this point? It's a bad world. And I'm glad there's bad men out there. I'm glad there's, I shouldn't say bad, capable, violent men out there. I'm glad they're out there because they stand in between me and totally evil regimes in other countries that would not bat an eye if they had the ability to sweep this country and take everything. They'd do it. They would absolutely do it. I've seen this, right? And so I appreciate violent men and some women that are out there that stand in the gap between them and us. I really do. I've got some lib friends. I don't think we're friends anymore, but they would get really bent out of shape when the Blue Angels would come to Traverse City and put on a display for the people and demonstrate how expert they were at flying these extremely special purpose aircraft that had unbelievable that have unbelievable capabilities, but the men flying them have to have the same level of expertise. And these friends of mine, like, no, we don't want this here. And all I could say to them, like, either the Blue Angels are going to fly here, or there's going to be a Chinese demonstration team that's going to be here, or somebody else. And you do not want to deal with them. You do not want to deal with them. There is a cognitive dissonance in this country that is unbelievable about what is outside of our borders. And now we are allowing them into our borders. That's a whole nother subject, but it just kills me how the homosexual community is so for, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a Israel Palestinian, like I'm pro Israel. I don't like what's going on there. I don't. But each side has attributes, right? Good, bad, indifferent. If you're a homosexual in Palestine right now, you're a dead homosexual. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. So for these people to be chanting, death to Israel or from the river to the sea, it's just like, do you guys not know what they would do to you? Even the ones that are in this country that have pockets of populations, they're still into killing homosexuals. They're still into that. And the homosexual community just they don't even register it. I don't think they'd support the Jewish community because they're not real big on that either. But anyway, it's just more cognitive dissonance about what reality is. Anyway, so what we wanted to convey, or what I wanted to convey tonight, is becoming an outstanding homesteader. And there is many different aspects of that. If you're a guy that is punching the clock, you learn your business. If you're out here in this business, you need to learn this business. You really need to learn this business. I would like some help from you all. And I think this is the time to do this. I would like every one of you that hears me, for our own safety, our own health, our own prosperity as a small farms community, to bring as many people to the tribe as you can. Our numbers there are like 12,000. I'd like to see it to be 50,000. 50,000. Now they're out there. They're out there in our society. We just need to congregate them, and we need to be able to speak to them directly as a group. Right now, we're talking to 12,000 people as a group. Hey, there's a threat on the horizon, and it's this organization right here. If we go back to the communism conversation, what is communism like? In a communist country, you don't have a Bill of Rights. You don't have the ability, if your township supervisor won't let you go on vacation with your mom at the same time because he doesn't like you for some reason. Maybe you're got a smart mouth on you, or you don't like the way you look at him, or you're too confident the way you walk around. That was it with Malkoff, I'm sure. I liked him. He was a strong guy. And you want to get on, I don't know, Facebook or whatever, and say, well, this township supervisor is a jerk. That township supervisor has the ability to lock you up, because he'll talk to his friends over at the police department, and they'll come pick you up. And they'll re-educate you about how their society works. They call it good order and discipline, how that works. And you don't have the freedom of speech. I have the freedom of speech. I can call out the governor right now. I think she's a horrible mess, a mess, and more communist than constitutionalist. She's far more communist than constitutionalist. What was this during the Wu flu? You could go into Home Depot and per the governor's orders, like where does she get off ordering Home Depot around? You got to wonder, actually, is Home Depot really concerned with people? No, they're into making money. But she had Home Depot cordoned off so you couldn't get any paint for your house. No paint. No gardening supplies. Lawn chairs, nope. Just the essentials. And so she got to say what the essentials were. That sounds quite communist to me. You don't need to paint your house, comrade. It's fine the way it is. Just stay in your house. Oh, but you can have whiskey. That's one of the things about Russia. Oh, we can get the vodka. Oh, yeah. Plenty of vodka. And that's what people fall into because it's such a miserable existence that you can escape from it for a little while in a bottle of vodka. I don't recommend it. Wouldn't be an escape for me. And I told you also about, I haven't talked to him in a while. He came out of Romania, escaped, defected. And he was telling me what it was like on a daily basis to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, even though he had to show up for work at 8, but he had to get up at 2 to go wait in line so he could get some food for his family. There was food on the table when he left for work. But you couldn't buy 4 or 5 days worth. Nope. You could only get enough for that day. Why at 2 o'clock in the morning? Because if you try to get out there at like 7 o'clock, the line is so long that you're never going to make it there in time. It's called austerity. They put you in austerity. So your life is just difficult. So you're just struggling to survive, where it's completely incorrect. And I cannot believe that God is looking at this and saying, I sure am behind the Biden administration. I can't think that that's correct. The Biden administration is actually creating a human crisis in this country, and it's severe, and it's getting more severe all the time. I can't think God would be behind that. I just don't. With the reach that this country has and the prosperity that we have, if it were parlayed correctly, we could help these countries and mentor them in our way of life. Instead, this administration opened the gates and come on in. And they're not coming into the United States to be Americans. They're coming here just because they can survive. Their countries are bad too. And I don't want to take anything away from that. If I was one of them, I'd probably do the same thing. But it's not a healthy situation. Anyway, getting better at what we're doing is something that we have to focus on. And I do this a lot of times when I'm doing just something that I do all the time. And I look at it and I'll say, I wonder if I could do this better. I wonder if I could do a better job of this. And so I consciously say, yeah. And I'm always looking for the next edge, right? I'm looking for the next edge. Finding an edge is another technique. If you get in a gunfight with somebody, you want the sun at your back. That's an edge. That's an edge that can preserve your life. So you're always looking for that edge. And we like to be fair. A lot of times when you're dealing with animals and flora and fauna, it's not a fairness issue. I take that back. I look at these concentrated animal feeding operations like north of me, and I just think God created those cows, but he didn't create them for that existence. I can't think that he did. Not because I look at the design. I look at the tail that's designed to, sweep all the way to the center part of the animal's body for hitting flies. But these CAFOs, they cut them off. They cut the tail off. So if I was God, I wouldn't be happy with that. I would not like that, actually. And so seems as though he's made their operations not profitable. Like they would not survive without subsidies from the government. And subsidies basically is, well, we'll take money from these people and give it to these people because they're the good boys. They're doing it the way we want them to do it. We have control over them. And unfortunately, the CAFOs, I think if what I'm saying comes to fruition, we'll see. I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but if it does come to fruition, these CAFO operations, they're already captured. And if they're told that they will vaccinate the animals, they don't have a choice. They will not have a choice. They will have to either completely go out of business and it will be interesting to see because I know some of these people. But they've capitulated on other things as well. So I don't have a lot of hope. But as far as us, we cannot be compelled to do that the way things are right now. And I'm going to wrap it up here. With this, the Anyone Can Farm Tribe Plus is our next level group of people. It's a paid thing. And one of the things that we offer in Tribe Plus is access to us. We're pretty good at this. And we'll tell you what we know in a consulting environment, which is a Zoom call that we do every other Wednesday night. This Wednesday night, we would not be doing it normally tomorrow. But we're going to, and we're going to carve out some room in there. And we're going to allow people to come in who want to talk about this bird flu thing and what we can do. Like, I am willing to share solutions with you on this based on the knowledge that I have, right? So I have solutions to this. I actually have a widespread solution to this that are peaceful, within the law, and are going to actually edify this group. Things that you need to know that you should have known before. But why don't you know it? Because you weren't in farming from the beginning. You were in the factory or in a cubicle or in college or something. And a lot of you have said, no, but I want to farm now. Okay, there's a lot you need to know. And that's what we're going to share tomorrow night. It's pretty basic stuff and stuff that's proven. And I'm going to tell you how it's proven. And I had a very long conversation with a lawyer friend of mine yesterday that has probably more experience with these types of things than anyone that I know. And I needed answers to my questions. He had the answers. And when we put the whole thing together, it's like, oh, we're in a lot better shape than we thought. Whole lot better shape than we thought. And we don't have to call on an outside entity to come in and save us. We don't. We have what we need. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is nonviolent, and we don't need to do that. We're peaceful people. And I think this is because, okay, we've drawn the line in the sand. We've said, I am with God. I am with the Creator. Right? If I was all about just money, the love of money, then I would be over on this side. And I would say, well, if I can put all of my cows in this building, they never have to see the light of day, and I can feed them stuff that they don't usually eat, but I can get more milk because it means more money, and I love money, then I would not be on God's side. I wouldn't treat his creation that way. I wouldn't do that. So we've drawn a line here. And I'm sorry if they're on the other side. That's their freaking problem, not my problem. I chose to be on this side, and I wasn't always on this side. The killing business, not exactly. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we keep peace through superior firepower is basically what we do, to back it all down and say, okay, let's play nice now. You're dealing with entities that would walk over you and destroy you and rape you. It would be a mess. You are very well protected by the U.S. military. So we're on this side. I think we have God on our side in what we're doing. And he has given us the keys to this slight bump in the road. It's a slight bump in the road. That's really all it is. It looked like more last week. And I think we give evil more credibility than they deserve, because they have all day to sit around and figure out ways to use deception and lies and intimidation against you. And they always make it seem like if you don't do what you want, then it could be hard on you. But we know this as a family that's walked through it and locked horns with them before and seen them from the inside. Like if you see the Department of Agriculture from the inside, you'd be like, whoa, that's who they are? You know, you see their pictures that they put up, and they always have flannel shirts on, you know, and that's not it. When they want to claim that they're part of a 6-generational farm, no, Junior, you left there when you were 18 and you haven't been back. So you can't claim that. You cannot claim that. I mean, you can, but you do a lot of other lying. But we see it. If you're so into farming, let me see your hands. All right. Let me see your hands. Let me take your shirt off. Let me see you without a t-shirt on. Right. I'll know. We'll all know. All right. So that's it. We're going to meet tomorrow, Wednesday night, and we might have to meet every Wednesday night. We will make whatever sacrifice we have to. If we get to a certain point in this and we see that they're not going to make a move, then we'll just let it go. We'll just let it go. We're not vindictive people, and we don't need to be. There's too much beauty and goodness and love in what we're doing to waste our time on vengeance, right? And I've had to let that go. I really have. This organization did a lot of damage to me and my family 10 years ago. And if I let that drive me in this operation, it's going to take me in the places where I don't want to go. And honestly, it's like saying no lie, but that's just a euphemism, I guess. But this year, I felt, or I was led, does that sound better? I was led to bear down on this farm and what I am doing here, this process, my animals, my processes. And I really didn't want to let anything distract me, like events that we're doing and things like that. Those are important, but I personally wanted to take this operation to the next level. And that was a personal thing that I wanted to do for my wife, for my children, and for me. It's definitely for me. If I felt it was better to just not do this anymore and buy a beach home someplace, then I would do that. But I don't see that. I don't see that for my children. I don't see that for my wife. I just don't see it. I mean, I probably could swing it because land prices have gone way up. But I didn't see that. So I think where we're at right now, and if you're in this with me, I think we're where we need to be for a lot of reasons. But I find solace in what I'm doing. All right, I want to shut up here. Let me see if I got any comments here that I need to comment on. We're stirring it up. Our state is MTARD. Well, we have bad leadership right now. We have really poor leadership. Let's say that we had a governor that was actually a good person, that loved the people of this state and said, looked at the CDC and said, not today. We're not doing it. Let's say it. I mean, I don't know if that's possible. Are the governors captured too? Even the real good ones, like the Christy Gnomes? I don't know. I don't know about her anymore. I don't know. That's above any place where I've ever rubbed shoulders. I really don't know. Maybe they're all captured. What I mean by captured, I mean by like somebody's got them. They are bought off or they're compromised somehow. They're not doing what they're in place to do to serve the people. Our government does not serve us anymore, right? And I believe that's what this struggle that we're seeing is all about. I believe that there's a lot of people that want the government to serve the people so we can all prosper, do well, and excel in excellence in the processes that we do, right? But right now, people are having a hard time putting gas in their cars and keeping their family fed. And that's being done to you by your government. So, and I don't think the answer lies in Democrat, Republican. The Republicans are sitting on their hands. They're supposedly the conservative ones, but you don't see them doing anything. Not really. There's a couple of them that will grill people in, the floor of the Senate. Wow. Do you put any of them in jail? I haven't seen it. Anthony Fauci the other day had to cry. He had to cry because he's getting death threats of all the people that he's killed. I think he's scared that he's going to jail or being hung or something. But you never see anything get done. So it's been a long time since we've had a government that was not compromised and working for themselves. They sustain themselves. State governments seem to be worse. They appear to be worse. And I'm lucky that I'm in the United States and I have freedom of speech because I can say these things. And right down the line. And that's where the answer is in our Constitution. And I want to explain that tomorrow night. So if you care to join us, you have to personal message me with your phone number, and we will give you a code at some time during the day. Don't be bugging me. You'll get it. Jill's going to do it. And you can join us. Now, you don't have to put your picture up. You don't have to say anything. You can just listen in. There's nothing classified here. It's all stuff that's right out in the open, but we're going to explain it the way it worked when we walked this road before and convey to you that we are telling you the absolute truth. All right. Good enough. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, hopefully. Remember, anyone.